Welcome back to Dad Bods and Hot Rods Garage. On today's episode, we're going to be working on 1976 Pontiac Trans Am 400 automatic. So this should be a fun project. Shouldn't be too difficult. It's a really good platform to start with. It's just a very beautiful car. I love the color combo, silver with the red interior, leather. And these Trans Ams are just really nice and set out nice with all the gauges and the brushed aluminum dash. And I mean, this car is really well taken care of and very nice. Headliner is perfect. So a friend of mine, Travis, inherited this car from his father. His father bought the car and they've had it this long. It's had one repaint. It's been in storage a lot. Hasn't been driven much. It's got like 68,000 original miles on it. Everything's all original to this car. The son that inherited the car from his dad, which his dad is still alive, he hasn't passed, lives 2 states away. And he's asked me to get it roadworthy for him so he can drive it back to his home state from here. Like I said, but it's been in storage for 7 years. So we're gonna get it on the road so he can drive it home. We're gonna do the Holley Sniper 2 with the fuel system and the supporting mods. We'll do a complete tune-up. Oil, plugs, plug wires, thermostat. Check the tires, make sure they're good. Check the trans fluid. I might even change the trans fluid and the trans filter while I'm at it, just to make sure everything's good. Okay, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get her up on the quick jack set. Get her up off the ground, up in the air. Get the wheels off of it. Get a look underneath. All right, let's make sure she's settling sturdy before we, oh yeah. Let me look at my mounts. That's exactly what I wanted them. She's heavy, but she's up. So these tires they bought them brand new and only had like 35 miles on them when they put the car in storage. But that was 7 years ago. So I don't see any dry rot or weather rot because it was stored indoors. But we are concerned that it might be flat spotted from being parked like that so long. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Yeah, same here. I don't see any. I don't see any cracking, weather rot. May be good. Oh, nice and rusty in there. I'm not a fan of these factory lug nuts with the little chrome cap on them. See, they're a little bit bigger than your socket, and the chrome separates from the lug nut itself. You can see what I mean? A little chrome cap that goes over the lug nut. And when they come off, your lug wrench tends to strip the lug bolt nut because it's a different diameter at that point. Today's going to be about discovery. We're going to learn what parts it needs, what parts are bad. I just want to make sure that I got the right part the first time, so I'm not making multiple trips to the parts store. That's what we're going to do today. So let's dig in. We're going to start on the right front. Right away, I can see that they're pretty rusty from sitting all that time. The pads look good. And there's some kind of red pad on backing. I don't know if they're like a Hawk red pad or something like that, but I'm going to check the wheel bearings. I'm going to take these off. This gives me better access to get in there and get to the spark plugs if I need to, because I'm sure it's going to be a pain in the butt from the top with an AC condenser right there in the way. So those back two and the front two pretty easy to get to from in here. So that's good to know. The shocks look like they've been in there a minute, but I don't know. I don't see any oil coming down from them. I don't see that they're bad. They are. It looks like a Monroe shock. Sway bar link bushings look okay. Tie rod bushings look okay. Everything looks like it's been pretty well greased. Ball joint looks like it's okay. Lower control arms, they look dry. I don't know if you can grease those or not. It doesn't look like it. Lower ball joints greasable. It looks like it's okay. So that's what you want to see, is a lot of grease everywhere with these steering and suspension components. That way you know things have been greased and they're still working. I do want to replace the brake lines because these are probably originals, and you know what happens with these rubber lines. They get hard, they compress, and you don't get any fluid travel through. So I'm going to replace the lines. I'm going to replace the pads. I'm going to clean up the rotors, which they look like they were pretty new. I'm just going to hit them with a wire wheel, clean them up, maybe throw some spray paint on it. I'll peel this off and check the bearings after I get the caliper off. So let me get my tools set up. I get started doing that. All right, before we start on the fronts, I kind of wanted to pull off a brake drum just to get a look at what's in there. Oh, that's amazing. It came right off. There's a little lip on that. It's from the rust, not from wear. It's pretty damn clean in there. I'll clean that up with a wire wheel. The brake shoes look good. The hardware's all there. It does feel like it's got some rust or some roughness down here on the bottom. But the wheel cylinders don't look like they're leaking, at least not on this side. Everything looks like all new hardware. These brakes have been done and gone through. All that stuff is pretty new. So I'm going to check all the hard lines, a little rusty under there, and check the rubber lines. The rubber lines may be causing the brakes not to work on the car. But all that stuff looks new. There's not a lot of rust in the wheel housing, the tubs and the torque boxes and the rear subframe. All that is really clean. The bushing may be bad on that sway bar, but looks like it's hitting the diff cover too. A little bit of rust here on the pinch weld. A little crunchy in there. This side of the car has the most rust on it though. You can see it on the bottom of the door. That's got the worst of the rust. It's just the bottom of that door from what I can tell so far. Got the door closes. It's beautiful. All right, let's remove this radiator shroud. Hopefully it's a two-piece unit. All right, so the fan's out. That was fun. You have to take these nuts out back here behind this in order to get it out, but got her. She's out of there. Now we can pull the shroud, I think. Got the pulley off. That means I'll be able to get the belts pretty easily. Right, there's power steering. Put that off the crank. Okay, change of plans. It appears that the fan shroud and the radiator have to come out together as one unit because it slides. The fan shroud slides underneath the radiator, and it's against the steering gear box down there. I don't know if you can see that or not. Anyways, I think I can do just here. I just want to make sure that water pump was still good. But it feels fine. I didn't see any leak in the weep hold. But I'm gonna get the belts off now. Gotta get the belt off of this air compressor. Okay, now I got all the belts off, I'm gonna go ahead and take off the upper rad hose and pull out the thermostat. All right, so that's a 180 T-stat. It doesn't look bad, but we're gonna change it anyway because it's been 7 years. I mean, it still moves, but. I have to remove that fuel line from the filter. It's been removed. Just remove that alternator out of the way. Pull that fuel line all the way off. Just like that. That's cleared up. Okay, this line went to that line, which is broken. Peel that off. Peel this one off. It goes to that thing there that goes to those things over there. This has already been removed. This thing holds the throttle cable to the carb. This is the kickdown cable. Just might have to pull that thing off. To remove this doodad, which the easiest way to do that is just pop it out here. This backing line goes to there. This one comes off and goes down to here. So this whole system will have to come off. Go on, is that a 9/16 or is that a 5/8? I believe it's to this side. That's over there. All right, now that I got all that broken loose, I'm gonna go ahead and take the carburetor off. See what we're working with there. Glad these are new studs because we'll need them for the Holley. This carburetor is basically brand new. Chop the gasket up in the middle. That's where the EGR comes through. And that EGR on this thing is pretty toasted. So let's check that out. Wonder if we could take that off and make a block off plate and ditch this thing all together and block these things off with a choke. They don't really pull any vacuum, just heat comes through here and it makes the choke open up when the engine gets warm. This thing opens up and allows exhaust to come back into the intake. And we don't want that. So I'm wondering if I can make a block off plate. All right, now that we got the engine drain, got the oil filter off, I'm gonna throw the plug back in. I've got to buy a seal for the oil plug because that gasket's completely eroded away. So that's where our leak was coming from, I think. But we're still going to take that inspection cover off to see what's in there. I just want to put this back on to stop the dripping. Scoot this pan out of the way. And my next step is to remove the fuel pump. I've already broken this line loose. So I'm going to remove the fuel pump because I've got a block off plate. Obviously we don't need this for the Holley system. And it needs sway bar bushings up front here. But let's get to this fuel pump. It might drip out a little fuel, but I doubt it. It's been sitting here forever. Yep, bone dry, nothing there. It is a new fuel pump. They just put it on, but the Holley system requires 60 PSI of fuel pressure, and this will only have 8 or 10 max. There we go. Good enough there, buddy. There we go. One. Yeah, buddy. All right. Fuel pump's out. Gasket seat on the fuel pump. I've got a fuel pump block off plate that we're going to put on here. Okay, the block off plate came with new bolts, but it did not come with a gasket. So I'm going to try to reuse this one. Looks like we're getting lucky. Oh, look at that. We saved it. So put those two back together. These in there. Let's go block it off. So that's where we're going. I'm gonna wipe that down, the rag. Put this gasket on. There we go. Fuel pump block off plate installed. Okay, another issue we found was the brakes were locked up and not working. Push the pedal and nothing happens, but as you can see, it's been leaking all along the back, that master cylinder. It's all wet down there. So I'm going to pull this thing off and replace it as well. May as well, we're in here. Already broken everything loose. So we'll get this thing off of here and replace it. Oh yeah, see all that fluid back in there? This seal is bad. The seal is bad right here, and it's gotten all in there. So hopefully it hasn't gotten inside the booster. Get you in there so you can see that, how wet that is from leaking. Hopefully it's not inside the booster. Lines came off good though, so that's a good thing. No problems with the lines or the bolts. That'll all go back together pretty easily. Like I said, I am going to change all the rubber lines because they've never been changed. So we'll change the master, change the lines, clean up those, clean up those. I'm going to repack these, clean up the backs, and that should do it for the brakes. The brakes should be good to go. When the Holley system comes, we'll set all that up and get that going. And some of the stuff I'm going to do before the Holley comes in, or try to anyways, is The oil change, I got the oil out. Got to get the new filter and everything. Get the oil change the spark plugs, change the plug wires, change the thermostat and all the belts, and pick up a bunch of vacuum lines, see if I can fix some of these vacuum line issues. But right now, I think I'm gonna take a break for the day, and that's gonna get it. I think we've gotten through quite a bit. A lot of discovery, finding some stuff. That's day one, 76 Trans Am. All right, guys, well, it's been a couple of days. We've taken off a lot of the parts and verified the numbers, ordered new stuff. A lot of new stuff has come in. I got a new master cylinder, brake lines, hoses, oil filter. Also, all the Holley stuff arrived. So we got the shiny Holley Sniper 2 and all the wiring for that, and also got the complete Holley fuel system to convert from the mechanical pump to the electronic fuel pump for fuel delivery. And I got a bunch of the Wix oil filter and all the tune-up stuff that I needed. The first thing I'm gonna work on today are the brakes. So, like I said, we're gonna pull the hubs off. We're gonna take the bearings out, repack the bearings, put new seals in, clean up all this surface rust, clean up that surface rust, replace the rubber line, put this all back together, do the same on the other side. The rear brakes are good. I'm just gonna clean these up a little bit and put them back on. The new rubber line hasn't come in yet for the back brake lines. These brake lines are good, but the rubber lines I want to replace. And I guess I could test fit the Holley Sniper on there today and see what that looks like. But no one carries these plug wires, so I'm gonna order cut to fit and make my own. I got the thermostat, so we'll put that back on. Maybe put the fan back in, put the belts back on. We'll see how far we get today. I don't have a whole lot of time. Once again, I'm at my buddy's shop. He's got a real beautiful, all original 68 RS Camaro that his grandfather bought brand new. And it's been in his family since, passed down to his father and then now down to him. And we'll do some videos on this thing later on. It's a really nice car. It's all original. I mean, all original. Anyways, I'll get the camera set up. We'll get started on those brakes. All right, so I got the hub off of this side. Got that all cleaned up, wire wheeled. I'm not gonna paint anything just because. I'm gonna try to put that new rubber line on, but I can't get that line to come off just yet. So instead, I've been working on the hub. So I pulled the bearings out, repacked them, put a new seal in, and I'm ready to put these back on. I cleaned up the brake pads, and I'm gonna go ahead and put all this stuff back on while I'm waiting for that penetrating oil to do its business. So I get you set up here. Watch that magic happen. There you go. Put a little extra in the hole, not much. Some people say you gotta pack these things completely full. I've never had to do that. But then again, I've never put my cars together and let them run for 100,000 miles without checking everything, so that's just me. All right. Wipe this thing down, make sure there's a slot in the spindle. There's a slot in the keyway in the washer. Now you take your castle nut, you crank it down, keep cranking it down until your wheel really feels the pressure, and it's kind of hard to turn. And then just back it up just a little bit to get the cotter pin back in. So I'm gonna loosen it up just a touch. and that's nice and tight. And that works pretty good. The grease in there is so old that it's dried and cracked. Put some new grease in there. Okay. Okay, now before I start the other side, I wanted to test out this this new master cylinder that I picked up. Gotta be real careful with these. If you start stripping them out, you're done. Because it is aluminum. It's the new housing's aluminum. This side's not as bad, but look at how dry that is. It does spin pretty good. It's got a little bit of wobble in it, but I'll take it apart and reseal it. This outside and clean it up, reseal it, repack it. Okay. Now I've knocked out the seals. All right, show you what I'm doing here. I'm taking this rubber line off. It's probably dark in here, you can't see, but removing the old rubber line, tossing that thing, and throwing this new one. It comes with new crush washers. So all you need is the old bolt, but make sure you remove the old crush washers, because if you don't, that's going to cause a leak. get you in here and show you. So it goes in to there. And it's kind of slotted. It's got a slot for it to go. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah, so kind of goes in that little slot area there. Crush washer front and back. And just tighten it down, and then we'll connect her up top. So I'm going to do that real quick. All right, so up top, what you're going to do up here, your rubber line goes in, and it gets locked in with this. This is what locks it into place. But before you put this on, it's a good idea to get the line started together so you got some wiggle room, so it doesn't have to be lined up exactly perfect. Moving back here to the back brakes, I'm going to replace this rubber line. I'm having a tough time getting this to break loose, and I noticed on this frame rail, look at that. That's going to need to be addressed. It's going to need a patch there. How's the other side? The other side's solid. So anyways, trying to get this line broken loose here. I've gotten these broken loose. I don't know if you can see it or not, the whole thing's moving. Anyways, I'll be back. Okay, so I got this brake line off and replacing it now, but ran into a snag over here on this side. The two pieces weren't coming apart, and it wound up twisting and snapping off this end of the line. So I've got to trim this spring back to about here and try to put a union fitting in and put some new line up to here. That's gonna be the only option, is put a union in here and run new line. So that's for another day. Okay, it's another day. We're back at it again. I had to go pick up some more parts. I just wanted to show you the intake is square, spread bore. The Holley is square, and this adapter will adapt between the two. And the difference being the Pontiac intake, the mounting points are smaller in between here and here than they are for the Holley. So this adapter plate had to be put on this orientation, and I bought bolts that sunken in Allen heads, and these are just regular 5/16 bolts. So the head is in a it's cut out hexagon like this on the bottom side for this side, so that's what holds the bolt into place, and then we'll just put a nut on the top. So throw a gasket on, bolt it the rest of the way down. Put our kick down cable back on, our return spring, and that's sorted out and done. We're gonna put the temp sensor in, and on this car there was a temperature operated vacuum port here that we no longer need because none of this operates on that. So I'm going to use that port, and we're using a half-inch MPT to 3/8 MPT fitting. That'll go in there, and then the sensor goes right to that. So it's right in the front. It's coolant crossover right at the thermostat, so it'll get a good, accurate reading of the temperature. Right, so that's mounted in and done. The wiring for it is this one. Routed under all these other vacuum lines and along the EGR. And then it goes just like that. Okay, so the best routing I've found for the fuel pressure regulator is on the driver's side, because the fuel lines run from the tank up the driver's side down to the mechanical fuel pump under here. So our fuel lines are going to be intercepted at the frame where it crosses into the body there. I'm going to bring it back across. This is inlet and this is return. So I'm going to run the return and the inlet both together underneath the distributor, behind the valve cover, and then over. So my return, the return from the Holley is going to come to this port, and then this will be the return to the tank. This side gets blocked off. That'd be if you got dual feed or 2 fuel rails. You run them both in and then out. This port is where a gauge is supposed to go. Thank you, Holley, for not providing a gauge with this. And this is how you adjust it. You break this loose and turn that up and down to adjust your fuel pressure regulator. Your fuel pressure rather. So yeah, I'll set you up while I bolt that down and we'll start making some fuel lines. Gotta find that. Okay, Holley, appreciate this very much. Brand new fuel pressure regulator. Right out of the box. These are the holes where your screws go in to mount to the bracket. And these aren't threaded. No threads at all. It came with screws. They just fall right into the holes. The holes are too big and they're not threaded. Okay, so now that I got it mounted, I got these thread sealed. I ran this line up to the Holley for the return. Just putting this line on the fitting now. These come with these really nice fuel injection hose clamps. That'll make sure that never comes off of there. And sorry, like I said, I routed it around behind the valve cover in front of the distributor and up and through here. I've got plenty of room for a little extra wiggle room so it doesn't get too taut. And if I need to route that down, I can. So there we go. The return line from the Holley is ran to the fuel pressure regulator, and then from the fuel pressure regulator, this end will run back to the tank. Remember that rear brake line? I was able to flare it and put a new fitting on it, but I did not get any video of it. So kind of skipping forward and doing a little voiceover on it, and we'll continue on from here. I'm going to bench bleed the master cylinder. So I got my fittings in, I got it crimped into a vise, and what we're trying to do is get all the air out of the master cylinder before we put it on the car, and then we'll bleed the rest of the system. So it's a pretty simple task. You just pump it until all the bubbles come out. I don't know if you can see all those bubbles or not, but just want to keep pumping it until you get pure fluid in there. like that. There we go. Now, I've been seeing online a few videos where people are having problems with getting fluid returning here once they've compressed it in, pushed it in and out. Fluid's coming back out with it here, and it's leaking the seals around this area. So I was going to bench bleed this on the car because I already had it bolted on, and then I saw those videos and I thought, well, I better bench bleed it here and see if this is leaking or not. And I don't know what that individual has done or found out as a way to fix that or repair that. He bought 2 remanufactured and 1 brand new. They were for Tri-5 Chevys, and I don't know how he's cured that or if he's messed with it or not, but this one doesn't appear to be leaking at all. Looks pretty good. All the air bubbles are out, and I'm going to take it over and bolt it back on the car. Well, that's it for today. I need to get a tubing cutter so I can cut the fuel line and tap into that. But I mean, got some stuff accomplished. Moving right along, starting to come together. Pretty happy with the progress. Got the brake lines done, all the brakes done. Need to bleed them. We got the fuel pressure regulator in, got the Holley Sniper bolted down and done. Got the temp sensor in, got part of the fuel system started. So we got a big jump on that. And it's going really well. So we will see you next time.